So it's 11 o'clock. Welcome to the Sunday morning class of Return to Oneness. Miss Penny will let you know where we are and what paragraph and all that kind of good stuff. And she will get us started.
All right.
So,
I'll tell you
wait,
right
I
now.
have to do it. Miss Penny.
You guys matched today.
That was purely an accident.
That was pure. Trust me.
I told him all of my black shirts were dirty today. I just want you to know that we have Marvin and Bobby and Linda, and then we have Shayla, Misha, and Jim here in
Cool.
Zoom land.
Zoom land.
Eddie got a new nickname yesterday. We were going someplace and someone said, "Oh, I knew I recognized you. You're the Zoom man." So I'm taking donations to have a T-shirt made for him that says, "I am the Zoom man."
I am the Zoom man.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, and we are on page 9. We're starting a section, the last section in the first chapter, the energy of beliefs. In this historic moment where we are studying finally Eddie's book, we are almost to the last of the first chapter, and paragraph 45. The energy field of the belief is what manifests that which is seen and experienced. In addition, every thought with its feeling either creates a new belief or strengthens one already held in the mind. Thus, the law of belief is why you can only see and experience what you believe, think, and feel to be true about you, others, and the world around you. It is impossible to see and experience that which you do not believe. Why? Quite simply because you have never had the thought and feeling to create the energetic frequency to manifest it. 46. We sense your disbelief, for you but think that you have had thoughts and feelings which did not lead to an experience. And to this, we but point you to examine your beliefs even deeper. Since there are no neutral thoughts and every thought either strengthens an old belief or creates a new one, you can only see and experience the belief which has the highest vibration behind it. For example, just because you entertain the thought of winning what you call the lottery does not mean that you will experience it unless its energy signature is greater than those of other beliefs you hold within your mind. Thoughts leave not their source. As such, a lifetime of thoughts of lack and unworthiness, which are but fear and disguise, carry with them a strong enough energetic field to cancel out the energy signature contained within a simple thought or two.
Yeah, guys. So I really want to talk about this for a moment. All right. It is impossible for a thought, which generates a feeling, which then creates what we would call a belief, to actually have us see or experience that belief, unless it is, energetically speaking, the more pronounced field, that it's the weightiest. That's how I want to term it right now. You've got to think of it like a scale. If you have a thought and then generate the feeling of it, again, like the text says, of winning the lottery, that's nice. But why don't you see it? You don't see it because your underlying belief of lack and unworthiness are too great the energy of that is too great to override a thought of winning the lottery. One simple little thought of winning the lottery. We see and experience the beliefs that have the most energy.
So the person that wins the lottery, what were they thinking? They don't have the beliefs I do?
And in some instances, hun, they literally were not thinking anything.
Nothing.
Right.
They had no
I
judgment.
have a neighbor that wins it all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Amazing to me.
Yes. I've known 3 people who have won.
Wow.
And it is amazing to me too, Misha. That's the best word I can describe it. And but I also know the people well enough and knew them well enough that I understood how they won it. Well, first of all, they played, so they gave themselves permission, right? There's a belief. I have permission. Second, they weren't attached. None of them were attached to the outcome. They either won or they didn't. They were not attached one iota, and they never played. And I can truly admit that of the 3 that I've known, they never played in lack. It doesn't mean that I'm not trying to say they had a lot of money to begin with. They didn't. They were happy with what they had.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? They were happy where they were. They weren't complaining. They didn't bemoan anything. They were just happy and grateful to be where they are. And I was happy for them because I watched it change, their life. But I want us to recognize our beliefs really do create what we see and experience. And our beliefs are generated by what we think and feel. Now, I don't know about y'all, but how many thoughts do you have in a minute, every minute? Sometimes maybe one. Every once in a while, maybe none. Chances are probably a couple or a few, right? And every thought leaves not its source. That's in A Course in Miracles. Every thought leaves not its source. It is always there. And it always adds to a belief that you already have, or creates a new one if you've never had the thought before. Now, I want Miss Linda, I'm going to ask you a question. Do you mind, sweetie?
No.
And you don't have to give your age,
Oh.
but
It isn't real anyway.
that's why it's not real. But Miss Linda,
Mhm.
how often in your life have you had thoughts where you thought you couldn't do something or have something because of lack?
That's a good question. Because, I've been thinking about this a lot because my daughter wants to move to a new house. And I keep putting thoughts of, it's not necessary. She should be happy where she is. I keep blocking it. And I decided today that I need to change my thought pattern to allowing the best for everybody to come through and
Okay.
not trying to block it.
Good. But may I offer a suggestion?
Yes.
Since you said that,
Mhm.
instead of saying I need, that's already a statement of lack.
Yes.
So-
Yeah. Oh, yes.
So
yes,
say I
yes.
choose.
I choose. Yes.
So now claim it. Choice is where our power
I
is.
choose.
By saying I need to, I'm coming from a place of lack. And the universe hears it and responds.
Oh, yeah. They listen very well.
Oh yeah, they do. Quite well, honey. The universe is very adept, isn't it, Shayla? Of hearing everything, hearing everything that we think.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I'm going to quit directing it
so you're gonna quit direct. Okay,
Yes.
good.
and allow.
Just allow. Yes. Good. Excellent.
Paragraph 48. As your consciousness is expanding, we now share with you the reason as to why affirmations seem to work. Affirmations are not based on some form of magic. They work simply because they call into function the 2 laws that have been shared with you. At this point in our sharing, you should clearly begin to see and feel how affirmations work. For each time one is repeated, it strengthens a new belief. When the energy of that belief is greater than its opposing belief, still being held within the mind, you will begin to see and experience what you have been.
Right. Jayla, have you ever said an affirmation or affirmations before?
Yes.
Yes. Tell me tell me how it worked out for you.
Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't.
Okay. Sometimes they work and sometimes
Yeah.
they don't.
And after what Penny read, it makes sense because sometimes some of them I believed and some of them I didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. And now I'm going to have Penny read the next paragraph really quickly. Hey, Miss Joy.
Hey, Joy.
Sorry about being late.
There you go. That's quite all right, hon. All right, Miss Penny.
Okay, we're on page 9, paragraph 49. Yet, can you see the inherent problem with affirmations? Well, affirmations are not bad, for nothing in truth is bad. They do not dissolve the opposing belief, for the old belief is still being held within the mind. Affirmations only work when the energy of the new belief reaches the threshold to overcome the energy field of its opposing belief. Our question to you is, why create an opposing belief when simply dissolving the old belief is much more efficient and agreeable? For to create a belief which merely opposes another does not reflect or extend your true self. In other words, it does not reflect oneness. Rather, in the case of affirmations, they but strengthen the belief in separation and division, regardless of the intention behind the affirmation.
Yes. I'm not telling you not to say affirmation. What I'm asking you to do now is to recognize that why would you try to create an opposing belief, say it over and over and over until you truly begin to believe it, until the energy of that new belief outweighs the energy of the old one so that you can begin to experience it. Why not do away with the opposing belief? Does that make sense, Shayla?
Yeah.
That's
Makes
why.
perfect.
Yeah, that's
You're cutting
why.
out the middleman.
What'd you say?
It's like cutting out the middleman.
Yes, exactly. In fact, please understand, again, I'm not saying that guys, I say affirmations. Always have, and I probably always will. I find peace, I find joy in it. All right. However, I recognize it isn't the affirmation that's changing anything. The affirmation itself doesn't change anything. It's my belief. So I'm not going to see it manifest until the affirmation is now strong enough, that new belief is now strong enough to overpower the old. But I will share with you something that about affirmations, that if you will learn to do it, you'll be like, wow, this is cool. It makes even doing affirmations more fun. And that is, use the affirmation to follow the thread to the opposing belief. If you will,
Ah.
yes, if you will say the affirmation and feel with your heart what it is that you're saying, you can in that very moment recognize the opposing feeling. Now you're there. Now you are there, and you can actually forgive and release and figure out what that opposing belief. Why have you been holding on to it? What purpose has that opposing belief been serving? If it wasn't serving a purpose, you would have gotten rid of it. We all do, and we all would have. But that opposing belief is serving some kind of purpose. And that's what we don't often want to hear, is that the opposing belief is actually serving a purpose. That's why we say the affirmation is to try to create something in my life, within your life. And I would like to share kind of a funny story on affirmation. I have an I call it an affirmation, but it's actually 4 wrapped up in 1. All right. And I say it all day long, especially when I'm in the shower or if I'm doing what I call mundane work, just like making my bed, washing the dishes, something like that. I just repeat, I am loving, I am patient, I am kind, I am merciful. I am loving, I am patient, I am kind, I am merciful. It comes from 1 Corinthians chapter 13. It is love. I'm calling on the aspects of love. All right. Well, I will share this with you. If I'm going to say that I'm going to share about, because I think it's with Miss Penny. All right. As y'all know, I am blind. I cannot get out into a car and drive someplace that I want to be, right? So I have to purposely ask someone if they will take me and drive me, blah, blah. Well, there's times, Miss Penny, she's there. Well, every once in a while, she gets stuck by the train. All right. And that humanness, that impatient human side of me will try to rear its head, and I feel the impatience, because the moment the impatience arises, all of a sudden, what am I no longer in? Peace. Because I always use peace as my GPS. If I'm not in peace, then something's immediately is calling for my attention. It's a call for love. Which is why I immediately turn within and start saying, I am loving, I am patient, I am kind, I am merciful. Within 2 or 3 times of saying it, I'm back at peace. And just from that, I recognize that I'm back into patience. And then I remember something that, of course, in Miracle, always remember this. I know I'm not here. I'm bad. My favorite quote verse for this moment is, a brother or sister not worthy of your patience. It's a question that Jesus asks in A Course in Miracles.
Oh.
Yeah. Is a brother or sister not worthy of your patience? And I realize that it is a call for love. It's a call for love from me to me. That impatience is. And I have now said it for so long that I recognize that impatience, that human egoic aspect. As long as we're here, Jesus tells us in every course, it's going to rear its head. You're going to hear it, right? You're going to hear its voice. As long as you're in the physical realm, you're going to hear, because remember, the physical realm is the ego's domain. So you're going to hear it. The question is, are you going to give into it?
We wear earplugs.
It doesn't matter, honey. Earplugs or not, it don't matter. You go hear
Just
it.
don't identify with it.
Absolutely. Don't identify with it. Yep. And which is why immediately, Misha, I immediately start, I am loving, I am patient, I am kind, I am merciful, which is my way of not identifying with it. and staying in the big, yes, ma'am.
Before you cannot identify with it, don't you kind of have to figure out what's it all about anyway? Because
Yes.
the universal you, not you
Right.
personally, maybe.
Right. Oh, you can blame me.
Because you're still going to have that underlying patience. So you can it's the same thing as you say with the affirmations. You can declare the affirmations,
Right.
but unless it leads you back to what the problem is and you fix that problem,
Right.
so
let me ask
not
you
problem issue.
this. So let me ask you
Is
a question.
any ego thing fixable? I don't think so.
Right. There is nothing egoic that is fixable. Right.
Thank
So, but
I
what
don't
is,
know.
no, it's not fixable.
Okay.
It's identifiable.
Okay,
That's what you're looking at.
fine. But you have to identify it and let it go.
You
You can't, as we've discussed on a lot of things, you can't positive affirmation something away. You have to identify it and then, which
Right.
is what you just said 2 paragraphs
Right.
ago. You have to be able to identify
Yes.
what is it that, because it's always an expectation.
Right.
What expectation am I having of others that is unrealistic?
Right.
Or it is rocking my peace
Yes.
right now? What's the expectation?
And I will share this with you. If you have the way of mastery, lesson 25, which is in the way of knowing, is right in line with this. And it's about it's a lot about feeling and recognizing feeling that we miss the thought. Guys, I'm sorry. We're not quite yet adept at recognizing every thought that's crossing our mind. We're not paying attention, right? We're just unaware. But Jesus tells us we're very adept at recognizing how and what we're feeling.
Mhm.
So the moment that I recognize, for instance, I'm standing there at my back door waiting for Miss Penny, I can recognize that impatience. I can recognize that impatience bubbling up. I'm not going to identify, like Misha said, I'm not going to identify. If I identify with the impatient, now I'm just going to be excuse my language, an ass.
Right.
Right. I'm just going to create conflict when she gets there, say something. And that's not, why would I create that experience? I am the creator. So by identifying the feeling, now I can use that affirmation. I am loving, I am patient, I am kind, I am merciful, and feel the peace come back. And at that moment, there is no impatience. It is what it is. I now have stepped out of trying to be in control and back into allowance.
But I think the ultimate healing in a situation like that is gratitude.
Yes.
In that moment, while somebody is late, you still are going to accomplish what you wanted to accomplish. And in that moment, even if you had a car, you would be caught by the train.
Oh yeah.
And so therefore, I feel like gratitude when you can find those things to be grateful for, in those moments, they're even more healing.
Yes.
Than going into
and I do look,
your finger.
And she is right, because I do immediately look for the gratitude. And do you know where my gratitude comes from?
Mm-hmm.
My gratitude in that moment comes from, I can acknowledge that I am loving, I am patient, I am kind, and I am merciful. That if that experience had not happened, then I would not have given myself the opportunity to identify myself, or to identify myself as love. So that's where the gratitude, for me, that's where the gratitude is. Mm-hmm. It always brings me back into the moment. And guys, that's the other thing that I would like to share. In chapter 13 in A Course in Miracles, all right, sections 3 and 4 speak heavily on this in regards to now, recognizing your feelings, not being drawn back into the past, come back into the moment. And often affirmations are a way of bringing us back into the moment.
You know, I had a situation, just a petty little situation where my son doesn't like to do dishes. And so, you know, when I was in a Buddhist class, I heard one time, you know, instead of complaining about your dishes, be thankful you even have dishes. There are people who don't have dishes. So it just irked me that I realized I'm not going to be able to train this 37-year-old guy to wash his dishes. So I started the action of when I began to wash, I wash my dish, that's fine. I wash his dish. I began to think of all of the things that his presence in my life bought me. Bought me. I'm going to use that word. I don't care if it's the right word or not. All it gifted me. And when I began to recognize the gift of my son, washing that dishes becomes a pleasure because instead of being aggravated, I have fond memories.
Right.
And so you know so it's like no matter what you don't like in life, if you begin to say what gift did this bring me, not the gift of now I have to do what precious gift did it bring you? Because what would it be like in your life if your son wasn't there for the dish? Would you be happier because it wasn't there and you didn't have to do the dish? So the point, what really is the focus of the dish? You know, that becomes the issue. Right. So what's the focus of the issue?
Yes.
You know, and then once you recognize why that issue is even in your life, it's an awesome gift.
May I share with everyone? I shared with it with Penny this morning a Zen proverb about what we're speaking about.
Yes.
The Zen proverb goes like this. I love it. Obstacles do not block your path. They are your path.
Mhm.
All right? Obstacles do not block your path. They are the path. So Jim, what does that mean to you?
Wow. It means
Yeah.
I can like calm down and stop judging the obstacle as an obstacle.
Yeah.
You know, and just kind of go with the flow.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And here, Jim, to bring it back to what we've been discussing, since we create everything that we see and experience by our beliefs, our obstacles are our beliefs. So those obstacles literally are there to point to something that needs healing. That obstacle now you can recognize is not outside of you. It appears outside of you to get your attention, right? It appears outside of you to get your attention, but now you can recognize that the obstacle really is within you. And I'll go back to the impatience when I'm standing at the back door, and bless her heart, she'll call me and she's like, we laugh at. I call her Miss Penny. She calls me Mr. Lee. You know, when we're cutting up, and she'll call me and she'll say, "Mr. Lee, I'm stuck at the train track." Right, which means who knows how long the train is going to be? Right, it could be a mile, 2 miles long. And I realize now that in that moment, the train is an obstacle, right? But the obstacle isn't the train, it's my own impatience. The train is nothing but, and her phone call is nothing but a mirror holding it up for me to look at. You might be playing or feeling, and in this particular instance, I'd like to use the word feeling. You're feeling somewhere like a victim. That's where impatience comes from. Impatience is a statement of victimhood. And I will not bore you to tears with the identification of being a victim, but how in all of the courses Jesus says that is what we must look at the most is our belief in victimhood. And that's what Miss Penny has been reading to us. Our beliefs create what we see and experience. So that train and her phone call are helping me to identify to a deeper and deeper and deeper level just how deep victimhood plays in my life. I can't answer for y'all, but I would like for you to begin to like take this week and really recognize when you are impatient. Impatience, being impatient is just a nice way of saying I'm a victim. I'm a victim to this circumstance, right?
Mhm.
And remember, the ego has labeled, relabeled, slapped new labels on because it doesn't want us to recognize the foundational beliefs that actually keeps its continuity. Please recognize in A Course in Miracles, again, chapter 13, sections 3 and 4, talk about what the ego does to maintain its continuity. And it works tirelessly to remain continuous, right? It keeps us out of the present moment always. That's why I'm spending so much time on affirmation. Once I identify that I am that there's an egoic thought or feeling that's there, that's why I say the affirmation, I am. I am is a statement of presence. It's in the present. You are bringing yourself back into the present moment. So you are reclaiming your power. And Jesus really talks at depth about it. And of course, in Miracles, again, chapter 13, sections 3 and 4. That to begin to recognize what all the ego does to maintain its continuity within each one of us, and how it will speak and what it will make us feel. And it's a belief system. The ego is nothing but a belief system. That's why I'm saying that. That's why I'm saying the affirmation brings us back into the moment, back into the now. That's why you say I am. It's to snap you back into the present moment, and then allow you to begin to look at that underlying belief that is somewhere still there in your either subconscious or unconsciousness.
But I studied a lot on how to be a good parent because I had I love my parents and they were good parents in their according to their time, according to their time, and
Mhm.
you know what I mean by that.
Yeah.
But there were things that in my childhood I didn't want to pass on, and they say unless you actively try not to pass things on, you become your parents. So I studied a good bit about how to be a decent parent, and one of the things that I ran across was that every time a child feels unloved by your words, or you snap at a child, which says to that child that I don't love you, it takes 10 I love yous to erase that one moment. Yeah. So even within yourself, think about all the times that you've said to yourself, I'm not enough, I don't love me. And then tell yourself 10 times, I do love me.
Right.
I do love me. And start naming the positive things about you that you do love.
Right.
But 10 times for one instant takes 10 times to erase.
Yes,
I thought that was pretty steep.
it did. Yes. What a price.
What a price.
That's what Jesus calls in A Course in Miracles, the price.
Yeah.
There is a price. He says there is a price to be paid for every egoic thought. That's the price. All right. Yes. And there is a price that we pay. All right. We do not escape egoic thoughts. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. All right. Miss Penny just read it. All thoughts do not leave their source.
Right.
Thoughts do not leave their source. So, Jim, can I ask you another question?
Yeah.
All right. If you identify, for instance, with an egoic thought,
Mhm.
is that thought yours?
Gosh. Maybe it's the part of me that relates to ego thought, but not mine, capital S self thought.
It's not it is not your thought. So good. I'm glad to hear you say that. An egoic thought is not your thought. It's not your thought. However, if you entertain it,
Hmm.
you've bought it.
Yeah.
And once you bought it, just like in the world, there's a price to be paid for it. All right? That's why he says over and over and over again, he being Jesus, you are too tolerant of mind wandering. We are way too tolerant of our mind wandering on. We don't even think about what we're thinking. We don't give any thought to it. That's mind wandering. We think that thoughts can just daydreaming, but thoughts leave not their source. So do you mind if we take it a little deeper, Jim?
Yeah. No, please.
Okay. If the thought is not your thought and it's an egoic thought, then what is the source of that egoic thought?
The separation, my belief in the ego.
Yes, it's literally your belief, because the ego is not real, never has been, nor will it ever be real. That egoic thought is not yours. It's from the past.
Yeah.
All thoughts of ego. Again, this is in chapter 13, sections 3 and 4 in A Course in Miracles. All egoic thoughts are from the past. The ego is incapable of having a current thought. It does not know what the now is. All right, at all. It exists only in the past. Yet the past is not real. So, Jim, every time you identify with an egoic thought, you have removed yourself from where healing can occur, which is the present moment, and placed yourself in the past that does not exist. Therefore, you are literally in nothingness, which is why, guys, we become conflicted, because we're playing in nothingness. And we, being everything, cannot play in nothingness. And there's the duality. Why we get it's why we feel unglued. That makes sense?
Just like the never ending story in nothingness.
The never-ending, right, honey? It's the never-ending story, and that's the job of the ego. The job of the ego is to keep us in the past. By keeping us in the past, it maintains its continuity
In the story.
and in the never-ending story. It ensures that the future is just like the past by keeping you absolutely in unawareness of the present moment, which is why I will say affirmations of themselves are neither good nor bad. They just are. What I consider to be the beneficial aspect of an affirmation is it always begins with the statement, I am. and every time that you say I am, you're bringing yourself back into the present moment. All right. So I want Penny to read out the rest of this real quick for us.
Okay. Page 9, we're going to start with 50. We come to you now in order to collapse time. We are not here in this holy moment to share with you. We are not here in this holy moment to share with you those things that serve no purpose. For that does not serve the kingdom, which you are, as well as belong to. And while we are not here to state that you are doing anything wrong, we are here to share with you that which will aid you in experiencing oneness. Therefore, we invite you to release those beliefs whose purpose is to keep the mind enslaved to division rather than unity. And you have already received the means necessary to accomplish this. For you hold in your hands the means to release your mind from its self-created prison. In the way of mastery, you were told you cannot take fear into love. You cannot take judgment into forgiveness. You cannot take limitations into unlimitedness. These things must be released at the level in which they were first occurred. In the above quote, the words "these things" are referring to the errors made by the mind. But because the errors are believed real by the mind, the belief of their reality must first be challenged, then forever released back into the nothingness from which they were born. Yet more specifically, you are being told that the original errors of judgment, guilt, fear, and the belief in limitations must be released on the level in which they first appeared. But in order to do this, we must share with you where these errors hide within your consciousness. For until these errors are completely released, there still remains dark recesses hidden within your mind where the light of love is not welcomed. And until love is welcomed in its entirety, it is not welcomed at all.
Yeah, thank you, Miss Penny. I'd like to Jim, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I have do you mind if I if you play along with something real quick?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Now I know it's gonna sound so let's say primary, like elementary school type. All right. Okay. So Jim, we talk a lot about separation, correct?
Yeah.
How did we separate eternity?
By creating time.
Yes, yeah, thank you. We separated eternity by creating time. But we're so good at separation. How did we separate time?
Oh, wow. That's a good one. I want to say by having ego thoughts like worrying about the future or doubting our unity in, something like that. We created time because we're worrying about the past or the future, or
Okay,
we're
yes,
guilty in the past.
yes.
Yeah.
We separated time into a past, a present, and a future. So time is the separation of eternity. And we further separated time into a past, a present, and a future, in which, as Jesus says in the Course in Miracles, that the now is the closest approximation to eternity that there is. It is eternity. But if the ego never allows you, which is its job, is not to allow you to be in the present moment, then you remain separated from eternity. And if you remain separated from eternity, you remain separated from your true self. And you will always be in the guilt of the past and fearing the future. And that's how it maintains its continuity. And you never really think of the moment. Now, I know I don't want to get into it. You do recognize that the now, that even in this moment that we think that we're in, is already in the past. So, Jim, I have one more question for you. You ready?
Sure.
Cool. Where are you this moment?
In the now moment. In the now.
That's cool. You are with God. You have forever been with God.
Okay.
You will always remain with God. You are holy and perfect in this moment. You are awakened. In other words, you never left home. So every time, no pun intended, that you, and we all do it, that we think anything in terms of the body. I'm hungry. I've got to go to the bathroom. I need, right, Miss Linda? I want, right, Miss Bobby? More, yes. And we literally have separated ourself from our true self. That is the recognition that Jesus is asking us to come to terms with. Now, I don't know about you, and I will close this
But
class.
don't we have to eat and go to the bathroom
You're good, honey. We do as long as we believe we do. It's all a belief.
Yeah.
So thank you. That's how quick the class can end. It's all a belief. It's all a belief, guys.
Yeah.
It is a belief. You have bought into the world's belief, the egoic belief that you have to protect the body. Jesus says you must maintain it. Lord, well, what will happen to it if you don't? Do you see how insidious and how many tentacles the ego that we gave power to the egoic thought? Every time that you have a stomach grumble and say, I'm hungry, you have misidentified yourself. I know. I heard that, Jim. But I agree. Because every time I do, it's like, I think to myself, damn, excuse me. But it's like, damn, I did it again, you know? And this is the ultimate, and I will leave this, and then open it up and let y'all say, this is the ultimate in forgiveness. This is ultimately what we're to forgive ourselves for. Is to how quickly we misidentify ourselves, how quickly we do it. And we do it all day long. Even the thought of, I'm tired. But it's impossible. He says in A Course in Miracles, it's impossible to be tired. It's impossible. He says it's very possible for you to judge yourself and be so weary you can't stand, that you have to go to bed and go to sleep. But it is impossible for you to be tired.
Once again, that we're on two levels. When I say I am, isn't that a call in my spirit? And so then I'd say the body is. I mean, is that the point you're trying to make there?
Yes, the point I'm trying to make is you can, that's why in the Way of Mastery, guys, he says to get rid of the word my. You never say my finger, my body. It's the finger, the body, so that you are no longer identifying as it. Now you are just saying the experience. The body needs to be fed. That's a true statement. But you are not identifying as it. You are just simply calling correctly that the body in that particular moment needs to be fueled up.
In other words, they are intensely trying to get you to see that the word I am is your spirit being.
Is your spirit, is
your
yourself.
Eternity. So when you use the word I am, the lesson is, are you attaching it to an eternal concept? Or are you attaching it to a temporary concept that exists only because of time?
Good.
I have a question.
Yes, hon.
Well, I've been forgiven my judgment. So now if I say my body or I'm tired or whatever, That's a judgment?
Yes,
So now I have to forgive that when I,
yes,
oh, jeez.
yes. You have
So
to
my
forgive me.
assignment is I'm going to eradicate the word my out of my vocabulary.
All right. May I share something with you, Shayla?
Do not use eradicate. I couldn't think of a better word in the moment.
Going to
I
is
am
another
going
word.
to,
And as Master Yoda said, there is no trying. There's only do or don't.
right.
So I choose to.
I choose to. Yes, thank you.
There's your power.
And
Cool.
then Misha.
Hey, Misha.
Hey, let's talk about affirmations and everything. I found one in the Course of Miracles that says it all for me. It's right after lesson 350. And the question is, what am I? And the answer is, I am a holy child of God. I am shining in the light of His love. I am the place where love is perfected, fear impossible, and joy established without opposite. For I am the holy home of God Himself. I am the heaven where His love resides. I am in that place of sinlessness, and in my purity abides His own.
Yes.
And that has made a real difference in my life to recognize who I truly am, you know. And when I first started saying it, like I would say, I am the heaven where His love resides. My ego would go, no, you're not. You know, I could feel it, its resistance to these truths. But to cling to the thoughts of God that we learn in the courses are really the way to not identify with the limited thoughts that arise from the ego. And by doing so for a while, practicing this, you start to recognize the voice of the ego. It's the one that shouts out fear thoughts, you know, and so as it becomes more recognizable, it's easier to claim who I really am instead of claiming, you know, that I'm a body. So
Right.
body, you don't have to say, you don't, like, I don't remember who brought it up, maybe Shayla, that this body needs food. This body is weary. You don't have to identify that this body is me. It's it's not. And what you really are is a holy child of God, complete and healed and whole.
Yes. In fact, um, here's how I have finally come to look at it. I am not my car, but my car will definitely tell me when it's time to put gasoline in it, right? You know, new cars today, they burp, they start pinging, you know, before they run out of gas, they're going to give you plenty of time to get to a gas station. All right. But I'm not my car. But I still do what? I still feed my car gasoline, right?
Mhm.
You all
And
do.
use it to get around.
Use it to get around. That's all this body is a vehicle. So just like the car has to be maintained and washed and, you know, thank God we don't drink gasoline, right? But we have to do the same thing. But it's the spot. It's the experience, just to keep so that we can have the experience. Now we're no longer identifying as the body. We are identifying as the one having the experience. That's the spiritual. That's leaving the physical and moving back into the spiritual, which is to recognize that I am the one. I am the one having the experience. I'm choosing to create this so that I can have thoughts and feelings and feel, and there's nothing wrong with it.
What about the organ?
Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with it, sweetie.
Who invented it?
We did. Right. All right.
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Yes.
I
Well,
think it's a reflection of God's eternity.
yes.
I believe all the experiences that we have in the ego is a distortion of God's eternity, but it is definitely God's eternity.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys.
Okay.
I hope everybody got something out of today. And that is, don't identify. Whatever it is that you're identifying, that you are identifying with, is what you're going to believe to be true about yourself, others, and the world. If you believe, like as Misha read, the beautiful affirmation there at the end of A Course in Miracles, and it is throughout, and there are wonderful affirmations all throughout the course and all the courses. You will begin to identify as who you truly are, what you truly are, the self that you are in truth. And with each moment, you begin to recognize your unlimitedness, and you can now play in this physical realm and have a blast. It's just have fun. Just have fun. It isn't, now you recognize it isn't a nightmare. It isn't hell. Because heaven is wherever we are. So now it becomes a reflection of heaven, just as Jesus says in the Course. And by the way, he calls that the happy dream. So I will share this with you. Go forth this week and have the happy dream, guys. Have the happy
you.
dream.
Sounds good.
That's right after lesson 350, that prayer.
Yeah,
Thank
If you want to look it up.
Thank you, sweet. Yes, thank you, Misha.